Hey friends, so I just got done posting an update to my blog wilderromp.com about ultralight pack towels. So I thought that I'd get out on my hike today and bring a couple of the towels with me and do a little video talking about them. I'm not going to provide all of the details. You can find that in my blog, so I'm not going to go through weights and measurements, but maybe share a couple of features that I like about them. It's a little cold and wet. It's about 40 degrees or so at the moment, but I've just got done hiking a few miles and climbing a hill, so I'm a little overheated for now. We'll see how long that lasts. I might soon have to put on a jacket. But to get started, I thought I'd show you this old towel. It may be even vintage now. I'm not sure. I've had this one for a long time. This is a pack towel, and I think I've had this certainly 10, maybe 15 or more years. I'm not too sure. You can kind of see this is one of their older logos here, but this has gone with me all over the place, and I've found lately that I don't use it quite as much because it is a little bit on the heavy side. It's approaching 5 ounces, and when it's soaking wet, it actually, even after being wrung out, it's double that. So I've been playing around with some lighter weight options, and so I'm using this one kind of as a baseline comparison. And then keeping up with the kind of pack towel theme, I got one of these newer ones. This is the Paclight Ultralight, and by comparison, this stuff is just super thin, really lightweight and surprisingly absorbent given just how thin it is. I think this is one of the softer ones and just really comfortable to the touch. I really like this one a lot. It normally also has one of these little tabs that you can use to hang it from your pack, and I really like having that. Once I've packed up in the morning and my towel's wet from wiping down dew off of the tent or whatnot, I just hang it off the back of my pack to dry as I hike. This one has pulled off. That was somewhat intentionally pulled off, as I was just wanting to get some tests of the weights without it. But in any event, this is still a nice go-to, and I like this size. This is, I think, the size that they call a face size, and it's just right. I find it really useful. Sometimes just even stick in my pocket because it does pack down so small, and I'll use that sometimes in place of a bandana while I hike to wipe my nose with. But really, this is all I find that I need most of the time for soaking up the moisture off of my tent. Might be a little bit small to dry off with as you've come out of a lake or taken a river bath, but that's my go-to. Other options that are kind of similar to that include this this Chamois towel I've seen on TV. These things are actually really good, and it's cheaper. It's just as soft. Actually, I think it might even be a little bit softer. But I think this is a really good, reasonable cost alternative that doesn't have a nice loop to hang it from, but it wouldn't take much effort to maybe put a grommet or just sew a loop onto these. I think that'd work just fine. And frankly, you could probably even just poke a hole in it with your knife and hang it from a carabiner. This stuff's pretty durable. I like the Chamois quite a bit too. I mentioned this one in my article. This is, I don't remember, but you'll see the article. This is the one that packs up, comes compressed in this tiny little like pill-sized tab. You add water and it expands. And anyway, it's really Porta wipe. It's really intended to just be a replacement for a wipe, and it's not super durable. I could rip this if I really wanted and pulled hard on it, but it's durable enough to last a hike, certainly a week-long hike, and you could just wring it out and keep reusing it. It is really absorbent given how light and small it is, and you could easily get by with this for even wiping down the dew off of your tent. You're going to wring it out a lot more often, but it's actually pretty decent. I know that this one's real popular with a lot of folks. This is a Swedish dishcloth, and if you look closely at this and then go take a look at one of your common kitchen sponges, it's the same stuff. It's a cellulose fiber. This is just a different form factor. It's just thinner and sized more like a little mini towel than it is a sponge, but otherwise it's the exact same stuff. And as a result, it's kind of stiff and when it dries and not real comfortable, but it's really absorbent. If you wanted a towel for cleaning up kitchen stuff, you know, your dishes and whatnot, I'd actually cut this in quarters, and I think it'd be perfect for that. Otherwise, it's okay. I don't like it because you really have to get it fairly well absorbed before it's soft, and then it dries stiff like that, and it's kind of a pain to stuff it anywhere. But there's that option. Another option that's pretty neat. Also, this one comes in one of those compressed packages. This is a light load towel, and these are becoming pretty popular, and for good reason. I would put this up there at the top in terms of absorbency, lightness. It's a little bit rougher, but I think that over time this softens up quite a bit. It's rayon, and rayon is essentially the artificial silk. So it's not super rough. You'll have to feel it to get a sense of it, but the more you use it, the more you wash it, the kind of softer it becomes. And again, super lightweight, packs down small, relatively soft. You could get by with just one of these for everything, including drying yourself off as you come out of the river. So light load. Then let's talk about this one. This is REI, and I didn't spend a lot of time in the article talking about this one because it's a little bit on the heavier side. This is a light towel compared to some of their other offerings, but it's a little heavier than I'd like. It does have a nice loop, but the nice thing about this, if you look at it, it's textured, and that just feels pretty good, and will certainly draw the moisture off of your body. In terms of coming out of a lake and drying off, of all of these light options, this one's probably going to be the best. So if you do that a lot, take a look at this. You'll find that some of the other really light ones, while they're lighter and they might even be more absorbent, they just feel a little bit less comfortable because you're kind of smearing the water all over your skin. Versus this, you'll really be pushing the water off your skin and absorbing it. So this just feels a little bit more like your everyday bathroom towel. If that's important to you, take a look at the REI towel. And that brings us to these three options. And as I mentioned in the article, they are identical. And one is the Sea Light Airlight Towel, and these other two are options by Matador. They'll call them like the Nanolite towels, but they are all the same. These are just two different sizes of the same product, but the material is identical. And you can take a look on my blog to see a close-up that shows you not only do they look pretty much the same, but even under a microscope, the fiber, weave, sizing, it's all identical. So these are all the same product, and there's even a cheaper version available on Amazon. I think this is just a standard generic material that these companies are importing and then putting their own brand on it and making these nice little cases, which I have no use for. That is, for an ultralight towel, to put it in one of these heavy rubberized containers is just pointless to me. I'd much rather just have a loop and leave it hanging loose on my bag. Even with these holes, this is going to mean that your wet towel is stuffed in here pretty tight. It's not going to dry well, so I don't think there's a whole lot of point in this. And the Matadors do at least have a loop in addition, so I'd leave the case at home and just use the loop on a carabiner to hang it off the back of your pack. The Sea to Summit one does not have that. Now, interesting, maybe somebody can answer this for me. On one corner, and only one corner, is what looks like a little button. I have no idea what that attaches to. There's nothing on this little, oh yes there is, look at that. Well, there we go. I take it back. The other side of that button's right here. Now, how would I use that? I guess you could snap it together and then hang it off your pack like this, although I'd be a little bit concerned that that would come off a little too easily. But at any rate, that's something to think about. That's interesting. I'd rather, I think, just have a loop and a carabiner. Finally, last option I'll talk about, and I don't think this is a real option. I got this one just because somebody on one of the Facebook forums had suggested it. They said a chamois cloth. Now, my guess is they meant the Chamois. And this is also not real chamois. This is not an animal product. This is a synthetic chamois. It is PVA, a polyvinyl alcohol material. It feels like plastic. And by feeling and looking at it, you would not think this would hold any water, but it actually holds quite a bit of water. It gets kind of slippery feeling and does absorb water like a sponge. It wrings water out exceptionally well, but at the end, you're left with this kind of stiff thing. These are great for the car, and the manufacturer even recommends that you don't let them dry out. You keep them moist, and they give you these little plastic containers to stuff them in so that they don't dry out. I think that you could pack it up and take it with you if this is all you had, but I wouldn't go out of my way to buy one of these. It's just a little too stiff, and it's frankly, none of the properties of this are better than the other options that we have here, particularly the pack light option, which between all of them, my favorite is probably going to be the pack light, maybe at the higher end, and at the inexpensive end is this light load towel. They're both great. So I hope that this was informative. I hope it gives you some idea of the choices that are available to you. And if you like what you've seen here, check out my blog, or go to the Facebook group that supports my blog, Wilder Romp, and continue to participate in the conversation and share with me what you've found that you like out on the trail as a nice ultralight towel. Okay, take care.